Borda, welcome to Expansive. I am Tomlu, and we're going to check out the original Bioshock Remastered. We're going to do these in installments so we can check them out individually, but this is just the original game. This is now actually on PC, PS4 and Xbox One. On PS4 and Xbox One you can kind of notice the differences more perhaps than on PC, but we have actually, if you do actually own Bioshock 1 and 2 on PC previously, you can actually automatically download the remastered versions free of charge. Infinite's already kind of at that level where it's, you know, it's already at high specs and it already looks pretty great on PC, but we're just going to delve in, check out the original 2007 Bioshock game and see how it fares now in the modern day. You can see the cloud effects and the smoke effects are great, and the explosion. It's a real tour de force, and it's really great to see these games back because obviously Bioshock games are some of the greatest narrative driven experiences and from a first person perspective that we've ever seen, and this is still going back to 2007, so you know these aren't new games, but they still have the same sort of impact. If you've never played them before, you are in for an absolute treat. They still have the same impact in various different ways because they're just so fresh and they're so different. So yeah, as you can see, this is an underwater based game. It's quite interesting because Infinite then went to the sky, so it really did a complete contrast. And it still looks pretty dazzling. The lighting effects are really great on this, and obviously compared to some recent games, it does still, the quality doesn't quite shine as much as others. You get a nice hint there actually of a Big Daddy, which you're going to be seeing plenty of later on in the game. But yeah, I mean, it's still a fantastic game to look at, and I think that this has really been recreated very well for new platforms. In the game, there's a discovery of a genetic material called Adam, which can grant superhuman powers, and you're sort of seeing a little bit of that now. You've got like mind over matter and telekinesis, and all these kind of abilities that you're gradually going to be acquiring. So it's quite interesting because throughout the game, you're fighting these other sort of hordes of Adam-obsessed enemies, and they've been manipulated and tweaked and twisted by Adam, and you're actually going to see the first experience of that now, where these enemies are sort of known as splicers. And they're basically addicts, but they're crazed addicts who will do all kinds of dangerous and wacky things like slice your guts open. But the game is quite refreshing because you have weapons, but you're also using the plasmids that you're gaining, the Adam enforced power, and you're kind of using your weapons in collaboration with those powers. So that made the experience really... So yeah, there are kind of RPG elements to the game, but it's also got a very steampunk-like feel, and you've got survival horror elements to it as well. It's such a unique mashup of various different games that I think that's what makes Bioshock still so fresh and different, and the experience so interesting. And we just look at the environment. I mean, there's nothing really like this even now. Even all these years later, this is still such a different experience. And there you go. This is what I talked about with the Adam and the plasmids. Now check this out. If a player's health does reach zero, they regenerate at the Vita chambers, and they're kind of like checkpoints that you see gradually throughout the game. And but that does mean you have to go quite a way back occasionally, and that can mean a bit of like retracing your steps. But it's all about trying to preserve your abilities in the game and just making sure you time your attacks precisely. And you can see now I can use a plasmid for the first time, and there you go. It's an electric one, so now I can actually activate some of the depowered down elements in the game. And there's the plane. Probably not a good combo having water and electricity together, but hey, who's counting? Who cares? Yeah, I think the lighting, there's a Vita chamber there I was just talking about. But yeah, the lighting effects in this I think really have they're one of the major noticeable differences in the sharpened textures and the way everything just appears. It's actually really made the game very vibrant. Yeah, I see that. There was a combo there. Now watch this. Check this. He's in the water. And I just fried him because he was in the water completely. So that's a different thing you can do as well. You can use stealth mechanics to try and change the game up. You can go for the direct approach, or you can actually lure them into traps as well. So it really sort of depends on how you want to play. So what's really interesting for me about Bioshock is that it actually took me 3 different playthroughs to get through this game. Now, when I first played this the first time, I was one of these gamers that like to play things on the highest difficulty set. You know, I thought I was a top gamer. I thought I was, you know, I could manage anything that came across me. And the game destroyed me. It absolutely destroyed me. So I kind of gave up. I tried on a lower difficulty setting, got to a similar position, and wasn't able to pass it either. I then came to the 3rd position, and I thought, at this point, if I don't get in with the game, I'm just going to trade it in. I'm never going to look back. And then I picked up the camera. Now, the camera is the part I was mentioned earlier on. It's basically a research camera in the sense that you actually get to basically scan different enemies, and you actually find out particular information about these enemies, which then makes it easier for you to kind of fight them in different ways. You get particular attack benefits. And for me, that just opened the game up entirely, and I just could not put it down. But it's really fascinating. It took me 3 different times to get into this game in the first place. And I was a major first-person shooter fan. I loved these games from the beginning. But Bioshock, it just took me so long to find my footing with it. But once I did, it's become now one of my all-time favourite games. A lot of enemies try to surprise you in Bioshock as well. You'll definitely notice that a lot. People try and sneak and get you at corners. And that's what really makes it so jumpy and so intimidating, because you just never know who's going to spring out you next. Uh-oh. Angry Mr. Bubbles. And you've got to fight these guys, by the way. So you better get ready. This is such a fantastic way to really introduce you to these characters. The pacing in this game is just, it's unmatched even to this day. It's just brilliant. So yeah, one of the greatest games of all time, remastered. It looks superb even now. I think this just is as good as I've ever played it, and I'm so happy I get to explore Bioshock all over again. It's a game I've always appreciated, and it's a really interesting one to remaster, but hopefully that means we're going to get more Bioshock games in the not too distant future. But for now, I would seriously recommend this entire collection. It's fantastic value for money for what you're getting for it. You get all the DLC content that came with the original Bioshock games, and it's just a pleasure to replay them all. As you can see, they look better than ever, they play better than ever. It's brilliant, and I would thoroughly recommend the Bioshock collection. But I will just, as I say, I'll go for each individual one so you can see how different they are, how much better they look. And yeah, for now, thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.